The Rothschild didn't control the world by armies. They control it through a $500 trillion secret hidden in plain sight. Europe, 1815. Smoke curls from chimneys. Carriages clatter over cobblestones. Nations bleed. People starve. Behind the scenes, the Rothschilds move gold faster than any army, faster than any crown can track. Napoleon is defeated at Waterloo. One man knows it first, Nathan Mayer Rothschild. By the time Wellington hears the news, Nathan has already positioned his assets. By the end of the week, his profits dwarf entire national treasuries. Not luck, design, precision. Think about this. Wars, famines, revolutions, they look like chaos. But to those who control money, they are opportunities, engines of leverage, chains disguised as crises. 5 suns, 5 cities, London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, Naples, linked by secret couriers. The world is their ledger. Every coin, every bond, every loan is a thread pulling nations toward dependency. Here's what most people never notice. The system seems chaotic. It's not. It is choreographed. Every emergency feeds consolidation. Every debt issued is permanent. By lending during crises, the Rothschilds are not just making money, they are designing permanence, building invisible networks that survive wars, revolutions, empires, and time itself. Look closely. This is the part that changes everything. The world you see, the chaos, the freedom, the randomness, is mostly illusion. The real power is hidden in ledgers, couriers, and contracts that outlast kings. And the first lesson is uncomfortable. The system is not broken, it is functioning exactly as intended. By the mid-1800s, the Rothschild network is a continent-spanning nervous system. Railways, canals, sovereign bonds, all veins carrying influence across Europe. 1848, revolutions shake Paris, Vienna, Berlin. Governments panic, people riot, armies march, loans are offered, regimes survive, governments bend to the invisible hands controlling credit. Think about this. Power doesn't always march in armies. Sometimes it whispers in contracts, in ledgers, in interest rates. In Britain, Lionel de Rothschild sits in Parliament, not loudly, not officially, yet policy bends where money flows. Relief comes slowly, loans at interest, dependency enforced. 1875, the Suez Canal is on the market. Egypt's ruler is desperate. The Rothschilds step in. Without firing a shot, they control a vital artery of global trade, influence without borders, power without armies. Here's the secret few notice. Control doesn't require ownership of territory. It requires ownership of debt, infrastructure, and trust. Pattern emerges. The more crises occur, the more power consolidates. Panic, collapse, rescue, repeat. And humanity applauds each rescue, never realizing the dependence is permanent. By the early 1900s, the Rothschild influence is no longer confined to Europe. It stretches across oceans, touching America, Asia, and the Middle East. 1913, the United States creates the Federal Reserve, a central bank designed to manage liquidity, stabilize currency, control money itself. Think about this. A nation's independence seems intact, but its financial lifeline is now part of a global system of debt. Dependency is invisible, yet absolute. 1914, World War I erupts. Armies mobilize, governments bleed cash, civilians starve. And who profits quietly? The networks that understand money as leverage. Wars are not random, they are capital engines. Catastrophe is currency. 1915, Wall Street crashes. Millions lose savings overnight. Banks collapse. Governments panic. Yet the system doesn't fail. It recalibrates. Central banks consolidate control. Trust is rebuilt. Dependency deepens. Here's the pattern. Crises are not anomalies. They are features. Every collapse teaches obedience. Every rescue reinforces compliance. Every loan, every bond, every bailout is another invisible tether. And the Rothschild secret? It's not a vault of gold. It's a blueprint, a principle. Control through permanence, power embedded in the architecture itself. Look at Europe between the wars. Governments dependent on foreign loans, banks interlinked across borders, public trust managed by newspapers, speeches, subtle economic nudges. By the time World War II erupts, the financial architecture is fortified, not fragile, fortified. Even post-war recovery, think Marshall Plan, isn't charity. It rebuilds economies while maintaining networks of dependency. Crisis followed by rescue, collapse followed by consolidation. Humanity internalizes obedience. Visualize it. Arrows of capital crossing oceans, ledgers linking continents. Borders matter less than balance sheets. Power isn't shouted, it whispers, and the whisper becomes law. The lesson is stark. The system was never meant to fail. It was meant to endure, silently, invisibly, permanently. By the 1970s, global finance is no longer just regional. It's planetary, digital, fast, automated, invisible. 1971, Nixon ends the gold standard. Dollars are no longer tied to metal. Paper becomes faith. Debt becomes the foundation. Pattern interrupt. Think about this. Every dollar issued carries an invisible chain. Every loan, a silent leash. 1973, the first oil crisis. Prices quadruple overnight. Panic spreads. Governments scramble. Economies teeter. And yet the system adapts. Institutions that understand the rules profit quietly. Crisis becomes opportunity. Collapse reinforces dependency. Derivatives, futures, hedge funds, names that confuse most, but the principle is simple. Concentrate control, amplify risk, normalize dependency. Pattern repeats. Panic, bailout, restructuring, consolidation. The world learns obedience. The system endures. 1982, Mexico defaults. IMF intervenes. Loans restructured. Interest still paid. Dependency reinforced. Sovereignty negotiated. Stability conditional. Asian financial crisis, 1997. Lehman Brothers, 2008. Crisis after crisis, each one a lesson in systemic permanence. Look closely. The system doesn't fail, it functions. The architects of finance, whether Rothschilds or their modern imitators, profit silently, invisibly, always. Visualize it. Networks crisscrossing the globe. New York, London, Frankfurt, Singapore. Ledgers, debt obligations, credit lines, the real borders of power. Trust is currency. Debt is gravity. Every human interaction is subtly aligned to the system. Think about this. You cannot escape without systemic collapse. And even then, collapse is absorbed, repurposed, restructured. The lesson emerges clearly. Permanence isn't accidental. Dependency isn't a flaw. Crisis isn't failure. It's the system functioning exactly as intended. By the 21st century, finance is faster than any human can follow. High-frequency trading, automated debt instruments, global currencies flowing in milliseconds. The architecture that began with a single family hums in servers across New York, London, Hong Kong, Zurich. 2008, Lehman Brothers collapses. Panic spreads instantly. Governments inject trillions. Yet look closely. What appears chaotic is choreography. Those who understand the rules profit quietly. Dependency deepens. Trust is rebuilt. Crisis becomes consolidation. Think about this. Sovereign debt isn't temporary, it's perpetual. Nations borrow from institutions that borrow from other institutions. The chain stretches across borders, time zones, generations. Every citizen inherits invisible contracts. Every life touches obligations they cannot see. COVID-19, 2020. Supply chains fracture, economies falter, governments spend, central banks inject, markets rebound. Dependency is reaffirmed. Power, distributed invisibly, becomes more entrenched. Here's what most people never notice. The system works not because it's benevolent, it works because it is essential. Humans depend on it for survival. Food, water, electricity, medicine. Each dependence strengthens the invisible architecture. The Rothschild's secret isn't a vault of gold, it's the blueprint. Control through permanence, leverage through obligation. Debt is gravity, trust is invisible. Crises are the mechanism that maintains the system. Pattern repeats. Crisis, debt increases, dependency consolidates, trust reinforced, and power flows quietly to the architects. Every generation internalizes obedience. Every rescue reinforces compliance. Every interaction is a thread in a network centuries in the making. Visualize it. Arrows of capital crisscrossing continents, ledgers linking oceans, borders less relevant than balance sheets. Power whispers, and the whisper becomes law. Think about this. The system isn't broken, it's functioning exactly as intended. Crisis, dependency, permanence, they're features, not accidents. The final layer of control is subtle, almost invisible, almost psychological. Look at everyday life. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards. Each is a tiny microcosm of the global system. Each begins small, almost unnoticed. Each grows, a silent tide. Think about this. Freedom is sold as choice, but every choice deepens the web. Every payment reinforces the architecture. Every debt is a tether. Money is both a tool and a cage. Banks, institutions, governments, they manage economies, but they also manage expectations, behavior, compliance. Currency becomes obedience. Credit becomes control. Interest becomes a leash, tightening over decades, generations, civilizations. Look back at history. Napoleon loses at Waterloo. The Suez Canal is purchased. The Federal Reserve is created. Lehman collapses. Every crisis, every innovation, every bailout has one consistent purpose: to entrench permanence, to normalize dependency, to make escape unthinkable. Visualize it: ledgers, bonds, credit lines, invisible networks stretching across centuries. Power lives not in armies, borders, or kings. It lives in obligation, trust, and leverage. And the $500 trillion secret? It's not hidden in vaults. It's embedded in the system itself. Debt is memory with interest. Trust is invisible. Leverage is eternal. Pattern interrupts. Revolutions do not topple systems, they are absorbed. Crises do not destroy, they reinforce. Every headline, every bailout, every collapse is part of the design. Here's the quiet truth. You cannot escape the system without systemic collapse. And even if collapse comes, it is absorbed, repurposed, rebuilt. Permanence survives. Look around. Every transaction, every contract, every life, part of a ledger you cannot see. Debt is permanent. Security is conditional. Power is invisible. And the architects, whether Rothschilds or their countless imitators, have ensured the system endures. Long after names are forgotten, the network persists, unbroken, unseen, unstoppable. Now step back. Look at the system as a whole. Every crisis you've seen, every war, every crash, every bailout, not accidents, not failures, all of it functioning exactly as designed. Debt is not a mistake, it is the mechanism. Dependency is not a flaw, it is the feature. Permanence is not a bug, it is the blueprint. The Rothschild $500 trillion secret isn't a fortune hidden in gold, it's the system itself. Every loan, every bond, every obligation, a network of leverage stretching centuries, invisible but absolute. And here's the unsettling truth. Most people live inside the system without realizing it. Freedom is an illusion. Choice is conditional. The economy, the governments, the markets, they guide behavior subtly, invisibly, and we comply. Not because we are tricked, but because the system conditions us to. Think about this. Revolutions are absorbed. Collapses are repurposed. Crises reinforce obedience. Every generation internalizes compliance. Every rescue reaffirms dependence. Even disaster teaches trust in the architecture. Visualize it. The world as a ledger. Every life, every transaction, every decision align in a system you cannot leave. Borders are irrelevant. Armies are irrelevant. The only permanence is debt, obligation, and the invisible network. And the quietest truth of all, the system does not need tyrants or empires to endure. It needs only humans who rely on it, one transaction at a time. And you are one of them. So when the headlines scream collapse, bailouts, crisis, remember this. It is not failure, it is function. The world continues along tracks it cannot see. Debt is permanent. Trust is invisible. Leverage is eternal. And in the ledger of history, every line you occupy strengthens the system. The $500 trillion secret isn't hidden. It is alive. It is operational. And it will outlast us all. A ledger, infinite. Debt, unending. Power, invisible. And the world keeps moving along the tracks you can't see.